Thinking about moving but afraid you'll sell your home and have nowhere to go? You're not alone. In fact, it's one of the biggest fears homeowners have when they're trying to sell one home and buy another at the same time. Whether you're moving across town, across the state, or across the country, the question is usually the same. What if I sell my house and can't find the next one? And make sure you stay until the end, because I'm going to share a strategy that can help protect you from being left without a home during the process, while also helping you avoid one of the biggest mistakes homeowners make when they're feeling pressured to move. If you're looking for tips and advice to make selling your home a little less stressful and a little less confusing, you're in the right place. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when my latest videos come out. And if there's a topic you'd like me to cover in a future video, be sure to leave it in the comments below. Now let's talk about why the order of events matters so much. One of the biggest mistakes homeowners make is focusing on finding the next house before they have a solid plan for selling the one they're currently living in. I often hear people say, "Why can't I find the house I want and make my offer contingent on selling my current home?" Put yourself in the seller's shoes for a moment. Imagine you're selling your home. You receive an offer from a buyer, but their home isn't even on the market yet. Would you take that home off the market and wait? How long would you wait? 30 days? 90 days? 6 months? The reality is nobody knows. Nobody knows if that home is priced correctly. Nobody knows how long it will take to sell. Nobody knows what kind of buyer is going to come along, and nobody knows what that buyer situation looks like. This is where the domino effect begins. The seller of the home you want to buy isn't waiting for your home to sell. They're waiting for your buyer's financing. They may be waiting for your buyer's home to sell. And if that buyer has a home to sell, there might be another transaction attached to that one as well. Every step creates another moving piece, another timeline, and another opportunity for delays. That's why sellers want as much information as possible. They want to understand the risk. They want to understand the timeline. They want confidence that everyone involved is communicating. If you're relying on the proceeds from your current home to purchase your next home, this is one of the most important parts of the entire process. The order matters, but just as important is making sure everyone understands your situation from the very beginning. If you're going to need time to find your next home before completing the sale, that isn't something that should be mentioned halfway through the transaction. It should be disclosed before an offer is ever accepted. It should be discussed before contracts are signed. And if it's part of an agreement, it needs to be written into the contract. Clear expectations from the beginning usually lead to smooth transactions. Surprises rarely do. Now, this approach isn't going to work with every buyer. Some buyers need to move quickly. Some buyers have lease deadlines. Some buyers have already sold their home and need a place to go. Others may simply understand the situation and be comfortable with the timeline and expectations from the beginning. The key is finding the right fit and making sure everyone understands the expectations from the start. And if you give me a few more minutes, I'll explain exactly how that can work and the safety net that may help protect you from being forced into a home you truly don't want. But that's the part that scares people, because the next thought is, what if my house sells and I can't find the right home? And that's a legitimate concern. Nobody wants to settle. Nobody wants to feel pressured into buying a home simply because the clock is ticking. Nobody wants to wake up years later wishing they had waited for the right house. In fact, I'm working with a homeowner right now who experienced exactly that. Years ago, they sold their home and felt tremendous pressure to find a replacement quickly. They purchased the home they're living in now. They've built wonderful memories there. They've made it their own. It's been a great home for them, but they recently told me something they had never shared before. It was never really the home they wanted. It was the home they felt they had to buy because they were afraid of running out of options. Now, nearly 2 decades later, they're finally looking for the home they truly envisioned all along. The difference this time is that we're approaching it with a plan instead of pressure. And that's where having the right team becomes so important. Let's say your home is already under contract and now you're making an offer on the home you want to buy. At that point, simply submitting an offer isn't enough. The seller wants confidence. They want to know how likely is it that your transaction is actually going to close. They want to understand the timeline. They want to know what hurdles still remain. This is where a strong agent can make a tremendous difference. Your agent shouldn't just send over an offer and hope for the best. They should be presenting the complete picture. How far along is the sale of your current home? Has the buyer been fully qualified? Is financing moving forward? Are there any known obstacles? What does that timeline look like? Will the lender for your purchase speak directly with the listing agent if questions arise? Will the lender involved in the sale of your current home confirm where things stand if needed? The more information that can be presented, the less uncertainty the seller feels. And uncertainty is often what causes sellers to choose another offer. When everyone is willing to communicate, it gives the seller confidence that there is a real plan in place. Your offer isn't just being judged on price, it's being judged on the likelihood that it will actually close. That's why presentation matters. That's why communication matters. That's why having the right team matters. The goal is to remove as many question marks as possible. When a seller understands the timeline, understands the plan, and sees that everyone involved is communicating, they are often far more comfortable moving forward. At the end of the day, the sellers aren't always looking for the highest offer. They're often looking for the offer that gives them the greatest confidence that the transaction will actually make it to the closing table. And this brings me to what I call the kill switch. Now, every situation is different and legal advice should always come from your attorney. But in some situations, there may be options available that can help protect you while you're searching for your next home. For example, let's say your home goes on the market and you receive an acceptable offer. From the very beginning, everyone knows that you need to find suitable housing before completing the sale. Nothing is hidden. Nothing is a surprise. Everything is disclosed up front. In some situations, and with the agreement of all parties involved, an attorney may be willing to structure language that gives everyone a clearly defined timeline. Maybe you have 60 days. Maybe you have 90 days. The exact details depend on the agreement and the attorneys involved. If suitable housing isn't found within the time frame, the buyer may have the option to receive their deposit back and move on. Sometimes both parties may agree to extend the timeline if everyone is comfortable doing so. The specifics will vary from situation to situation, and not every attorney is willing to structure these agreements. Not every buyer is comfortable with them. Not every buyer's attorney will agree to them, and that's okay. Remember, this isn't designed for every buyer. It is designed for the buyer who understands the situation and is comfortable with the expectations from the beginning. That's why disclosure is so important. Nobody should be surprised later. Everyone should understand exactly what they're agreeing to before moving forward. The goal isn't to create obstacles. The goal is to create protection so you don't feel forced into making a decision you'll regret simply because you're running out of time. And here's something important. This fear exists in every type of market. People often assume this is only a seller's market problem. It's not. I've seen homeowners feel this pressure in sellers' markets. I've seen homeowners feel this pressure in buyers' markets. The market changes. The fear doesn't. The fear of settling. The fear of making the wrong decision. The fear of not finding the right home. The fear of having nowhere to go. That's why having a plan matters more than trying to predict the market. The homeowners who usually have the smoothest transactions aren't necessarily the luckiest. They're the ones who understand the process, build the right team around them, communicate openly, disclose everything up front, and put a strategy in place before they ever list their home. So if you're thinking about selling your current home and buying another one, remember this. The goal is to move in the right order, with the right protections in place, and with the right team guiding the process, so you can make decisions based on what you truly want instead of what you're afraid might happen. If you're planning a move, the next thing you need to focus on is preparing your home for sale. I've put together a video covering simple things you can do before listing your home that can make a big difference. Click on that video next and I'll see you there. I'm Karen Roth with RE/MAX Integrity Leaders. I'll see you soon.